Okay, and then also Hart proposed a bill to limit what technologies could be in driver's licenses, such as RFID chips, and what information could be in barcodes. And the bill, I think, also limited the use of facial recognition technology in the state. Any comment on that one?
Yeah, again, it's not something that, it wasn't sort of high on our list of bills this session, but it is something that I spoke to him about. And, you know, generally, although we didn't take a formal position on it, you know, we're supportive of pieces of that bill that talked about that limited what sort of technology can be used, because, you know, increasingly with the federal government sort of trying to push Real ID and other sort of national ID cards, we want to make sure that the states aren't, even though we're not sort of signing on to things like that, that state ID doesn't in effect become something like that where there's lots of information. And I know something that Representative Hart's concerned about is having this sort of technology that when I walk somewhere, when I walk into a store or when I walk into a building, that, you know, I don't even have to take my ID out, but there's a machine that can read the information that's on there. And we're generally supportive of that. Again, it's a privacy issue. There were other pieces of that bill that dealt with immigrants and driver's licenses, and so we didn't, you know, we sort of have competing interests there, and didn't take a position, but we do, you know, we're definitely concerned about privacy, and it really goes hand in hand with the work we did on Real ID, so we're generally supportive of that type of legislation.
Okay. Just two more questions, I'll get out of your hair.
Sure.
Are there issues that you wish that legislators would have taken up that they didn't?
Sure. I mean, I wish we would have gone farther with the anti-shackling legislation. I mean, I think it's great that the bill was printed and we've got it there in public record, and hope to go farther. Another bill that we've been working on for a few years, and although we took a step back to sort of focus our efforts in other areas dealing with this bill, the Idaho Human Rights Act was not addressed this year. And we hope that the legislature amends it to include sexual orientation and gender identity, so that you can't discriminate in employment, housing, public accommodation, and education based on those categories. You know, we sort of took a step back and didn't push the legislature this session, we being the ACLU of Idaho, and sort of focused on some local efforts in that area. But I do know that Senator LaFavor and others were working with legislators in hopes of getting a print hearing and possibly a public hearing this session. And it didn't happen. And it's, you know, even though that wasn't where we were focusing our efforts, we're supportive. You know, we want the bill amended and would have been supportive at a hearing, and hoped that they would have given a hearing, and it would have gone to Senate State Affairs, and Senator McKenzie decided not to give it a hearing. And it's unfortunate. It's a bill that I've been working on for 4 sessions now, and it has only gone as far as a print hearing. It's never been given a public hearing. You know, and some of the comments have been, well, I don't think you have the support to get it out of committee, but there are many bills that get public hearings at the State House that do not make it out of committee. So I think, you know, it's not this general rule that committee chairs have, that you don't give a bill a hearing unless it has enough support. And I think it's unfortunate that this bill hasn't been given the opportunity to hear from the public, because there are many members of the public, both people that would be directly affected by this legislation, and others that are just very supportive. And I think it's unfortunate that we don't have a chance to show that support at the State House, and I hope in the sessions to come that we will.
Perfect. Last question.
Sure.
If you could give legislators an overall grade of the session, what would it be?
I don't know. I think it's too soon after the session to give them a grade. I think, like I said in the opening, I think it's really hard, and I do completely understand, or I can't completely understand how difficult it is right now to be a legislator and have to deal with the budget. Because I know that's probably at the top of all of their minds. So I need a little more time after the session to give them a grade, but I do think, you know, whether I agree with everything they do or not, I think, you know, they do the best that they can when they're up there. And while I'm disappointed in some of the votes, you know, I know that they're doing what they think is right and doing the best that they can.
Perfect. Thank you for your time.